Welcome to a new episode of
What's
The
up?
King to the Prince, the Royal Code. I'm the
Yes,
King.
sir. I am the Prince. How we doing, y'all? How we doing, pops?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Doing better than the Knicks are doing right now because
Everybody doing better than the Knicks right now. We a sad city right now.
it's a sad
It,
day for the state right now.
yeah, it's
You know what I
terrible,
mean?
but
So we'll see what
but
happens.
at
Yeah,
least
we'll
I can
see
say
what
we
happens.
lost to a team that wanted it more. We lost to a team that showed more fight than we did, that came out the gates showing that they had that championship attitude. Shout out Pascal, that Eastern Conference MVP. He deserved
Yeah,
that. Him or Hallie really deserved it. It could have went either way, but what I liked and appreciate about Pascal, I saw a clip of him like talking to the Pacers before the like Eastern Conference Finals, just like showing them that mentality of what it means to be a champion. So like I'm glad that they a team that's going. It's not going to be a team that's just going to roll over. Like they gonna give Oklahoma a good fight, regardless if they lose, if whatever. Like I know they gonna give out. They gonna fight every game they out there. Like that's more than I can say about the Knicks because. We ain't show no fight. We ain't show no dog until game 5. We was already 3-1. Like at that point, it don't even matter. Like Indiana was just waiting to close us out. So at least they even got to do that in front of their fans. I like when like in those playoff situations where teams get to hold the trophy up in front of their fans because not every time you really get to do that, especially for a lot of these like teams that are lower seeded. Like OKC, they're number 1 seed, so of course they're gonna get it. But Indiana had to play pretty much everybody on the road their first few games. So shout out to them.
and OKC, one thing I can say about them, man, they coming for blood. Like it's one of those things where regardless of who it would have been in the finals against them, you really are gonna have to you're gonna have to go at them just as strong because that's one resilient team, bro. Like it's one of those things that the way like Indiana's game plan in my sense can't stay the same with them the way they played throughout all of these other teams because the one thing you see about OKC once they figure you out it's a wrap. They're like really one of those teams this year that that mentality it's like they've been playing like they're already the champions regardless. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
what I could say is it is true. I wanted to see the Knicks, but after game 2, that loss, it just didn't. It felt like Indiana wanted it more, and that's one thing I've been saying throughout this entire playoffs. Indiana is playing like a team that wants it more. So going up against OKC, they're gonna have to bring that plus some. So I'm rooting for OKC.
Yeah.
I want to see Oklahoma win. I've been an OKC fan for years. I have my different teams.
Word.
I've been
Now I
an
remember you was rocking with them when they had Paul George. I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah, I really when they had Paul George, Carmelo, Adams, Brewer, of course
Mm-hmm.
Westbrook, and I was a fan when they had the big three when they had James Harden, Westbrook, and Kevin
True.
Durant. When they got Ibaka over there. Remember when they had
Mm-hmm.
Cantor over there too? So
Word. That's
they
crazy.
had
And
a
the
squad.
Cantor pull.
KC really had a squad, but when they brought Paul George, it was like, oh man, this team like they really
I thought
want,
they was gonna do something that year. That year they
especially
had Paul George.
When they ended up getting
Yeah.
Melo, oh man, the whole city was just like in just an uproar, So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. But
Because
this one thing I can say about this Oklahoma team is they were it's always those teams where I'm not even gonna say the underdog, but it's just one of those teams you count out early. It's just like, what are they gonna do? And somehow they
it's because of last year. It's
yeah.
because of last year. Like because, but we gotta think about it too. They lost to a team that went to the finals. Like if things bounce a different way, I remember Shea got called for a 3-point foul last season in the playoffs against Dallas. Like a few things go a little differently. They could have been in the finals against the Celtics. So
Yeah,
it's safe to say because they lost in the second round last year, you kind of look at them as that inexperienced team. And even then, like they a year older from last year, and they still one of the youngest teams we've ever seen in the
in the
finals.
league,
So
exactly.
yeah, so that's crazy that they've been able to keep that consistency. Shea been able to maintain his MVP level from year to year, and he finally is able now to like hold that trophy, hold that achievement, add that to his resume. So let's see
Yeah,
what they
it's
can do. I really feel like they have what it takes. That as a team, they got the star player, they number two, they got their bigs, they offensive rebounders, they got their
a solid
defensive six
bench.
man. They got
Yeah,
Alex Caruso. They got like everything that you're looking for in the championship team. So it's okay. It's okay to give them that favorite in this situation, especially against Indiana. But the only thing about Indiana, I can't count them out because they play so fast. Like
you know
it's
what?
insane. You can't the way they because I'm talking about like you'll hit a demoralizing three that you would think be a dagger. Everybody's done like they defeated, but Tyrese Halliburton pushing the ball out. They already got a 3 point up. So you like, dang, like, I ain't even have no time to really celebrate, feel the energy of making that shot before they down the floor trying to score. That's how fast
No,
Indiana plays.
I was telling some people, man, it's like Indiana doing some wizardry over there because it's just they just don't stop, man. They just don't stop. But then I
Uh-huh.
said they're actually going up against the perfect team. Like to me, when you get a team like let's just happen to say Minnesota, if they were in the finals, Minnesota would give Indiana that energy. They would give them that push, but they don't have enough pieces, I think, that could match up with Indiana. Whereas
Mhm.
OKC,
That's
they
it.
have those pieces and they have that push.
Mhm.
So it's like Indiana, I think, really is facing their biggest challenge throughout this entire. Of course, it's the finals, but
Definitely.
I think
Mhm.
they're facing their biggest challenge by going up against OKC because you're looking at OKC. It reminds me of in some sense similarities to like Golden State. It reminds me of
Mhm.
those similarities when you had Houston with Paul and Harden. It's like
Mhm.
you're going against a team that they can balance whatever you want. They can give you that.
Mhm.
They have the bigs, they have the six man, they have the scorers, they have and then you have players that are resilient. Like OKC is going in there with that mentality. We want this chip. We don't care who
Yeah.
we are. Indiana is going in there basically like we want this chip, but we know we have to get over this hurdle. So
Mhm.
it's just going to be again who wants it more, and so I'm looking forward to it. I know
Yeah, I
everybody
think it's
else
gonna be
is.
good.
I think it's going to be good. So speaking of that, because you, of course, high school graduate, college graduate,
Mhm.
and you played sports.
Mhm.
How do you look at the level of competition from like when you were in high school and college to where it is today? Do you feel like it's
Mhm.
more you guys in your time, it wasn't just about what you can get out of it because now the NIL deals are so much more broad
Mhm.
spectrum now. Was that things that were you were looking at it in that sense, or were you looking at it like this is a career that I'm trying to make for myself?
It's so crazy because that you asked me that because I was listening to Luca was on LeBron and Steve Nash's podcast and they was talking about something similar. And I'll touch on a few different things that I could say because like they said in that video, like you don't see kids outside in the courts playing ball no more. Like
Mm-hmm.
you won't drive past the park our old park by Sunnyside. You won't go past there and see kids like running full course. Like you may see one or two kids out there shooting around, playing around in the park, but you're not gonna see like the courts flooded with kids because there's no love and passion for the game no more. There's nobody. Well, I won't say that there's nobody, but there's not a surplus of kids that would just like go outside and play for nothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
you would have to text me like come home, like it's time to come
Yeah,
home to
yeah,
get me to come across the street because like, I'm just there, just wanting to play, just wanting to work on my game, just wanting to be better, and it was like it was also the fact of I didn't have the like. Of course, the NBA was always a dream, but it was always something. I just wanted to be better than the person that I knew was better than me at the time. Like,
Okay.
um, my boy Jonathan, my boy Shaq, Wesley, like at all points, like they was all like that was my competition. So I just wanted to be better than them. Like I wanted to compare myself to them. If they scored 20, I wanted to score 21. Like it was on that type of timing for me. So it was never something like, oh, I wanted to be the most popular basketball player, be the most like looked at, most viewed, or anything like that. Of course, like you would always like that, but it's not something I was playing for.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a lot of kids now, like you'll see kids 10, 11, 12, they have like full on basketball trainers, health conditioning trainers, and it's crazy. Like an NBA player won't even get that until maybe they get to the NBA. So
Yeah.
you say 'cause a lot of people that are coming and playing professional sports, you're not coming from a lot of the times you're not coming from a family or a situation that can pay for a trainer full time that can be there for you. Because I didn't get my first trainer until I was in 11th grade, and this was my man Nico who just did it for free because he was like,
Yeah.
"Yo, I see
Yeah.
the talent, so I want to work with you." So you got trainers paying 100 an hour now, and they want to. Be in the videos, create the content for you, use the kids for content. So it's like everything is getting monetized with the game, the with the sport, with just the entire business behind it. So seeing kids now, like they don't really have that competitive edge for it in terms of wanting to be the best, just to be the best. They want to be the
Mm-hmm.
best so they can make the most money. So that's what I'm seeing a lot from it. But it's still competitive. Like what I do will say is that kids are better now. Like just the way
Mm-hmm.
that time and evolution works. At 14, these kids are doing something that didn't even really learn how to do or didn't think was possible in basketball until I was about
Yeah.
18, 19, already out of high school. Like certain ways to use your offhand when you dribbling, certain like drills and stuff that you can work on to improve your shooting, all things you got to do to increase your vert. Like it was a lot of things that just wasn't as accessible to my generation, and I'm like that I'm that iPhone internet generation myself. So it's like
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
even still not have the accessibility to certain information that kids today have is crazy. So that's why you're gonna see just like the athletes, the taller point guards, the more skilled centers. You're gonna see the evolution of the game just continue to increase, and with that, so will the money. So
And
I
that's
kind
true.
of answer it.
That's true. No, it's true because I look at when I was growing up, it's like even my cousins who may be 10 years younger than me and, 10 years older than you look
Mhm.
at how the level of the game has changed, even with basic like dribbling or shooting. You know what I mean? So I know
Mhm.
when I was 14, if you saw a kid dunking at the park, it was like, wow, he's going to be one of those ones. But
Yeah.
10 years younger than me, more and more of them were doing it, but not as many. You made it out of 10,
Mhm.
it might have been four of them, but now,
Mhm.
even at your age group, and out of the 10, you might see eight. But now the ones that's younger than you, it's all 10 of them dunking like that now,
Yeah, it's like if you 14 and you can't dunk, then you know the
It's
league not for
wrong.
you.
You know what I
Yeah, like
mean? It's like,
you got to
and
start playing football.
exactly, because now what you're not looking at them just dunking. You're looking at, oh, now he just put that behind his back and dunked. That's what's
Mhm.
more like, oh, it keeps the amazing. Not just going up for a basic one hand or a two hand, because you're like, look at him. He's 14. He's 6'3". He should be able to dunk. Because
Yeah,
there
and
was no
that's crazy to
14
think,
year
though.
old.
That's crazy to
There
think.
was no 14-year-olds that was 6'3" when I was coming up. If you did, it was one rare, you know what I mean? He was
Hmm.
rare, but you just look at the level of competition. So now let me piggyback off that. Well, now let's go into education wise in that sense.
Hmm.
Do you think the challenges that you faced in high school and in college that these kids are facing today, or is it a lot more pressure on them? And I
I
know
do feel
that's a
like it's a lot more
wide,
pressure.
question.
Mhm. Nah, I get it though. I get it. I will say first, I think that there's a lot of pressure on them that is, from the outside media, social media. There's a lot more things they'll see. You're more susceptible to see like, oh, a 10-year-old millionaire, 15-year-old millionaire, all those type of crazy once in a lifetime type of things that you know they can go and see on the internet. So it is a lot of pressure that, maybe a 12 or 13, 14-year old may feel, whether they into sports, whether they into science, math, anything. You can always find these outliers of these, child prodigies that you can kind of compare yourselves to. And if you don't have that mental strength, you don't have that support system to let you know that, these are things that you comparing yourself. Comparison is the thief of joy. You're never going to be able to love yourself fully if you keep comparing yourself to these people like that. If you don't have that around you, it's so easy to have that pressure. Like,
True.
especially if you into sports, if you seeing like the amount of money that you can have in high school to change your family's life. So I definitely
Yeah.
do see that. And when it comes to like education, the challenges that they face, no, I think that it's the easiest time if ever to graduate from high school, to graduate early from high school, to go to college early, get your college degree. Like, kids are at the best point of their life, and I'm pretty sure that you probably felt the same way like when I was going to school, because that's
Yeah.
really how it is. Like, there's more information that's available, there's more tools that's available, there's more like online schooling. There's different routes and different variations that you can take as opposed to just going to a traditional high school. Even like there's kids that get homeschooled from high school all the way on. There's kids that go to those secondary high schools,
Those
those
trade,
preparatory
those
schools, those
trade
trade schools,
programs. Yeah.
all of that. Like fresh
Yeah.
into high school. So I remember even when I was in high school, they had the school of aviation. So you had like 10th, 11th graders learning how like aviation works.
Hmm.
So it's definitely I think it's a bit easier for kids now because of all the information and all the tools now, especially with AI. Like there's so many ways that kids can get things done and learn new things. But then there's also the benefit of like those kids that want to learn more. There's more chances for us to have more geniuses, more scientists, more people that are protecting and care for the environment in terms of uh, what science is behind that. So we'll have a lot more people, a lot more kids that are interested in those benefits. But in terms of the pressure, I think that it's more just because we see more. There's more.
Out
There's
in the
more
forefront.
information. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so many different outliers you can see. Like if you want to look for anything, you can find a kid in your career path or a kid that is doing something that you love. Right? I'm pretty sure there's probably 10, 12-year-old podcasters right now with millions of followers. So it's always somebody that you can compare yourself to that is probably years younger, 10 years younger. So that's where I think that pressure comes from. I don't think that there's so much pressure on like coming from parents more
Hmm.
say, because I feel like a lot more parents, like I said, there's a lot more information, so a lot more parents are more like aware of this type of pressure, aware of these like social media triggers. So it's all depending on their support system at the end of the day.
And you do look at it, but you do have some parents out there that do put that pressure on them
Mhm.
because look at the parents themselves. Like there's so many parents that are so enwrapped into social media and content. It's just like when you were saying the trainers, you get
Yeah.
trainers that they're trying to monetize. So they're posting their training sessions. And in that sense, it's not really about the kid anymore. It's about, and I understand if you're using it as a marketing tool because that's your business, but
Hmm.
you can also see who's passion driven and who's money driven, because you can
Yeah.
tell. Because if that child improves, whether it's in tutoring, whether it's in sports, no matter what it is, you can tell when a person is passionate about what they're doing because to me, the passion comes from helping someone, not necessarily what you can gain from it. But you do have parents that do look at, like you said, there's a 10-year-old right now that could be worth $10 million, and he did that all from social media and
Yeah.
AI. So now, from a parent, he's looking at this like, well, my child is the same age. He's on that computer all day. So let's kind of figure out what he can do. And sometimes what happens is you drive them down the wrong way with that. And then they start,
Mm-hmm.
if they don't do right, or if they start slipping, or if they can't get it, then you start faulting them. And that's where a lot of that pressure comes on from the parents, but then
Yeah.
you do have parents that do support their children and whatever it is that you want to do. But I think social media, again, it gives that false sense of reality. And
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy because so many people nowadays are out for what they can gain. And I mean, of course we do it ourselves. Of course we're doing this podcast. We do, I'm a drone pilot. You play ball. You have your own production company. I'm an actor. Of course we're doing it to create a career out of it. And of course, at the end of the day, we're trying to do it to make a living off of it. But it's also still passion about it, the passion of
Exactly.
trying to achieve this goal. So, that was one of the things I wanted to know, because what I see a lot with kids, especially like the ones that are in college, I don't know if college is not the route a lot of people look at nowadays the way it was when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So and again, when you can figure out something early, and if it's beneficial for you, then of course you pursue that. But I wanted to know from your perspective, because when I do see like those videos where you'll have the college graduates and they have these these big commencement parties. I think that's so cool because it's showing that that's still important. But then there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot that you don't see that because that's not important to them. So that's what I wanted to know from your perspective, on that. So
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have your different opinions about college across the nation, across generations, because uh, there's a different product that came from each generation for colleges to come from. Like, college was very beneficial for your generation because a lot of companies and businesses were looking for that college degree. And moving
mm-hmm.
more towards my generation, like, yes, it's looked at, but a lot of people I know, a lot of friends I have that didn't go to college still have same or better paying jobs than I do because they
Mm-hmm.
had the experience and whatever they're working in. And I'm pretty sure it's gonna start to follow along those lines, like the generations after me. I'm like, it's gonna be more focused on what you can produce, what can you show, what can you sell, what what amount of money
Yeah,
can you generate. It's
yeah,
all going to be more
yeah.
important than how long you sat in school, because at the end of the day, if you have two candidates, one sat in school for 4 years learning how to do this versus one that sat in office for 4 years actually doing it, you're going to end up taking that person that has that real time life experience every single time.
Experience, exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah. And then
yeah.
you look at it, like nowadays, college costs to me is ridiculous for what it costs to, send a child to college. It's, and what happens is you get a lot of parents that get, they can't deal with it. And then you get a lot of kids that just don't want to deal with it, because who wants to know once you graduate from college, you have this bill that's outstanding that you have to take care of. And then what ends up
Mhm.
happening is, if you can't find the job that's in your career or what you've graduated for, now you have to get a regular job. And there's nothing wrong with a regular
Yeah.
9 to 5, but when you've went to school for 4 years and the only thing you've acquired was a diploma and a bill, and you're not even in that same field, you start to look at so much time that you will feel, or somebody may feel, was wasted, So that's
Mhm.
why I tell people, even young kids that I talk, if it's going to school is something that's going to benefit you, but also set goals while even if you are in school. Like, what are you planning to do, and what are you preparing to do once you're out? And if that plan didn't work, what's your plan A and plan B? Of course, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, there is no plan B. That's your plan A, and you have to do what you have to do. But at the same time, you also have to be real with yourself, because again, you still have to continue with your day-to-day activity. You still have bills to pay. You still have responsibilities. And once you reach that age, your parents can take care of you just so much. But once you get to that age, you're going to have to fend for yourself and you should want to, so
And
I
that's one
think
thing
that
I
was
always say, like, especially like when I'm talking to kids that are asking questions about college or curious about college. Like, yeah, you're gonna learn a lot on an education tip, but I've learned more about myself as a person, as a man, going to college than I ever could have just staying at home. I learned how
Mhm.
to be my own man, take care of my own space, pay my own bills, start scheduling my own doctor's appointments, all those type of things. Those are just things that
Yeah,
even though if I would have been at home, you would have been telling me like, yeah, I still have to do these things myself, but I still would have felt more of a sense like, oh, like I'm home. I still have you. I still have mom to come hold
be
me accountable
dependent
for
on.
it as a
Yeah,
as opposed to just holding myself accountable for it. Because
yeah,
at the end of the day, like when I was sick up there, like yeah, you could call me and tell me what you needed me to do, but I need to be the one that go to the store, go see the doctor, go do these things to take care of myself. And if I needed stuff, if I need to go make a store run to go get anything that I needed, those were the things that I needed to do. I had bills that needed to be paid. I started working when I was on campus, had an on campus job, off campus job, doing those little things that I needed to do to take care of myself. So you're gonna learn a lot about yourself, and you're never gonna have that chance or opportunity unless you take those risks that could be either going away to school, going to a different state for school. Um, Now I always think about all the time. If I would have went to a different state for school, the only thing would have been different would have just been the drive for y'all to come see me, or the plane
come and
ride to
see
come
you
see me.
exactly.
Because like I would have been I would have been that same person to be able to take care of myself, whether I was an hour away, 6 hours away, because that's just the type of person I was raised to be. So you're
Yeah,
gonna
and
learn a lot
see,
about yourself.
and that's what I try to always instill in you, a sense of independence, because I know one day, we all know one day everybody's not going to be here. So
Mhm.
what I know as a parent, I wanted to always instill a legacy in both of y'all, in the sense where you do know you can do it. You don't
Mhm.
always have to depend on somebody. I mean, one thing I know, I got my associate's degree. So
Mhm.
for me, I always wanted to go to like a university because I went to community college, and community
Mhm.
colleges are good. You do what you do. But I wanted to experience the thing that you got to experience, that dorm life, because
Mhm.
it seems like you guys really enjoyed each other. You enjoyed the time, you felt that sense of freedom, like if you were living in your own apartments. Of course, you had your
Mhm.
RAs, you had people to monitor, but at the same time, you were dealing with people that maybe been like a year or 2 or 3 years older than
Yeah.
you anyway. So they were trying to have fun too themselves,
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
that's something that I see. That to me is like, of course, unless you're into sports, or you just into the love of whatever field you're going, if it's whether, like filming or, liberal arts, whatever it is, of course, you're going there with that sense of you're enjoying what you're doing and what you're pursuing and the outcome. But it seems like the dorm life, that is
Mhm.
also added. You know what I mean? It's fun, the parties and
Yeah.
things like that's
Mhm.
what one of the things I wish I got to experience. Going
Mhm.
to being able to go to college and do that. So
Mhm.
you know,
Nah, dorm life, it was fun. It was always something new every day. Like,
yeah,
you got to learn a lot about the people that you was living with. You like you seeing people that you was just partying with, at 8 in the morning in the cabs, like breath stink, all that hair crazy. So it was funny. It was real funny. And I went to like a pretty small school, so for the most part, like everybody knew everybody, so it was real chill.
yeah,
I like that too. Like,
it was good.
I don't know how life could have went if if I would have went to one of those 10,000 dorm plus schools. So
Yeah, oh,
those
it would have been
yeah,
wild.
I probably had wilder stories, but
I
it was
remember
something
that
that was different.
I remember the one time when I went to pick you up, and it was just a bunch of ambulances up there, and I'm like, yo, why is all these ambulances? Like, oh, that's the kids that never had the opportunity to do any of this at home. They get to college, they go buck wild. People over here drinking, and it's like you feel bad, but at the same time, you're like, yo, like people are really running wild. And what also goes to say is, like, I think you living in New York City and just living with me, I had to push you out there so you can go experience life, because what I didn't want to do is shelter you so much that when you do get that opportunity to either go to college or on your own, you can't handle it because you've been so sheltered. And that's one thing I tell people: don't shelter your kids. Like, let them see and face reality. Of course you have to protect them. Of course you have to tell them. But don't protect them and shield them so much of the harsh of reality. You know, you gotta let them see it, and at the same time talk to them about it. You know, what did they learn? Their fears, what they saw that might have been enjoyable. That way, so they're not, and when it does come time for that, they're not thrown off guard, because you see that happen so much, whether it's in school or just people going out, moving to a new city. It's just like, what happened to you? Oh, well, I did this and did this. But why? Oh, because I didn't know. I wanted to try it. But see, if you would have talked to them about it, and it's bigger than just drugs and alcohol and things like that. It's just everything. So,
really, I ran into so many people that, you know, especially my freshman year. Like, freshman year is one of those times a lot of people ain't make it. Most of my freshman class didn't make it to my sophomore year class because for various different reasons, transferring out, couldn't deal with it. A lot of culture shock though for a lot of people. Not even because it was a lot of, like, you know, any of two races, any too much of two races, because we were. I won't say we were too diverse. We got more diverse as the years went along, but in terms of just being out there by yourselves, like, a lot of kids weren't ready for that. It was a lot. I seen a couple different things happen to those kids that are sheltered. Either they gonna stay sheltered, they gonna break out of that shell and never go back.
Never go back. They turn into different people after that.
Well, I'm talking about, like, there's people that I know, like, that when I met them freshman year, like, they are nowhere close to that person ever again.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. It's a crazy thing that can happen out in those dorms, but that's what you say. Like, you know, you got to talk to your kids. You got to prepare them for life, because, you know, although, like, there were things in college that I seen that maybe, you know, maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about, or I didn't get a chance to tell you about, but I wasn't too shocked because, like, you done told me things. Like, you done told me what could happen in these situations, how people can act, how people can react, whether that be men, women, like, how certain situations can make people feel, how certain, like, with liquor and alcohol, or just being around people in those situations. Like, I'm always been, like, you know, my head on the swivel for certain different things, so I know what type of situations can occur. So I was always, you know, one step ahead of the game, just knowing I ain't dealing with that. I'm not going into that room. I didn't see anything that way. Like, no, I was never here. I don't know anything that you guys are talking about. And they won't catch me at no Diddy trial.
And on that note, we definitely will be talking about that coming soon. So.
We gotta let everything come out.
Exactly. We're gonna talk about that.
Every time I think there's gonna be a good time to talk about it, I hear something new.
Something else. That's why I just don't. I want to let it kind of, like you say, hear more what's going on, and then we definitely will be talking about that. But again, this has definitely been a fun episode. Yeah. We appreciate everything, and we'll be talking to y'all soon. This is the Royal Code.
Yo, keep showing love, y'all. Appreciate it.